So let's organize our data, the structured data that we have, the databases we have, them with taking privacy in mind. Welcome to my YouTube channel where you daily see new content on data privacy. And since we are talking of data mapping these days, let's talk about how to map the structured data. Structured data, the data, store it in a very structured format. Typically, your databases which would have fixed rows and columns. The rows and columns would have the columns would have a title that say that, okay, this is the customer's unique ID, this is the customer's name, this is the customer's address, and those rows would be filled with the customer details. And it's a structured single table. Overall, the database would have multiple such tables, and we call them relational databases when these tables are interconnected, right? So personal data is there in databases as well. It has to your customer CRM, your ERPs, your HRMS solutions for your employees, they all have personal data because your customer's personal information, your transactional information, your employee information, it's in HRMS. So they're all stored in database formats which are of a very clear structure, defined data type, and they are interlinked at some table columns so that the tables can have some relevance with each other. For example, there's a product master, and while there is a transaction of one of those products, the product ID would be stored in the transaction master. The transaction would also have a customer ID which belongs to the customer master. So when you need a report, these three tables will interconnect and give you the complete details. That is why the data is easily searchable there. You can see, you can watch your data. So how do you want to structure that or map that data when it comes to handling it properly? You have to identify your source, which database you are using, which application you are using, CRM ERP. Define your database schemas and then define their tables, their fields. Classify them as to which of these tables are sensitive and which of these tables actually have personal data. Product master has nothing to do with personal data. Your customer master has a lot to do with personal data. Your transaction is partially personal because the customer ID in the transaction would be linked to the personal data in the customer table. But at least the customer master is a personal data, and it could become sensitive if the customer master is a vendor data and you have the banking information because you want to remit the payment to the vendor. So you standardize formats of each of your fields. This is something which is very important, and I'm sure most databases have that. Database operators, administrators do handle it that way. Currencies are all same in all the tables. The default currencies at least. The date format DDMM or DDMM whichever format being used, but used all across the same in all the tables. Especially if you have the reasons to merge multiple tables, then the consistency is very important. And then you can use the automated tools which can help you extract, transform, and load the information. You call them ETL tools, available from many software vendors, and you can use them to extract data out of your databases, transform them and load them. For example, let's take a case of a CRM and a ERP for an organization, right? So the CRM has the information of the customer, ERP has the information about his transaction. How do you map them? You map the customer ID of CRM table with the client ID of the ERP table. This could be one database and two tables. These could be two databases as well, right? Why are you doing this customer mapping there? Because you are putting in a unique identifier linking record over there. And since we are now considering that ERP database is separate, then you have to map up field names like full name here and the name here could be. These are just examples. The names could be any. So you need to map them so that you are able to see a consistent information over there. And then you have to label that these tables and this piece of information is sensitive and has to be handled accordingly. As a best practice, you should ensure data consistency across your systems, standardizing their formats like I talked about earlier also. Date is DDMM, but then that's the same for all the tables. Avoid deduplication. Of course, there's no point deduplicating master records. Automate and use version control. So whenever you're going to make changes, document that and use a version control system. Apply data classification for your privacy. Identify the PIIs, personally identifiable information, and apply security controls like role-based access, RBAC, right? Role-based access control, encryption, privacy enhancement techniques, anonymization. These kind of things you apply on the tables where you find that there's a lot of PII, and then you conduct regular audits and quality checks apart from ensuring real-time syncing and validation for accuracy, right? You should do that because it's very, very important. This has critical data, critical personal data related to the compliance, related to privacy. So you need to be very, very sure about mapping it and handling it. So that's about mapping structured data. We'll talk about mapping unstructured data in the next video. I hope you like the content of this video. Please press the bell and the like icon. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and share your feedback in the comment section. Thank you.